Hi, it's Grace again. In this video, I'm going to try to explain how to sequence a non-radial design. So a design that's not snowflake shaped. This is a design for points that would go along the edge of a garment or piece of cloth. You would either construct these individually and then whip stitch them to the edge of the cloth, or you would lay your cloth down along this line, baste it, and then construct them right on the edge of the cloth. I prefer doing the former, where you do them individually and then attach them to the cloth, because I take my lace with me everywhere. I take it and pull it out of the grocery store, and when I'm waiting in line, I do it in the car when my husband's driving, not when I'm driving. Obviously. I do it at lunch, at work, and unfortunately, if you dragged a piece of cloth with a whole bunch of lace already done on it along with you to all those places, it would get very dirty. I mean, there's just no way to keep it clean. But if you're only doing each individual and it's only being out in the atmosphere for the time it takes you to actually create it, it doesn't get quite as dirty. So the first thing you would need to do is identify which line is the most important, the one that everything attaches to, and I've marked that in green. Now, if you're doing these individually, if you're doing this on the basted on piece of cloth, you would base the cloth on, and then you would attach these lines to that cloth. I'm going to show you like how to do it individually, because that's the way I would do these. So basically, I would go around in a circle like that. Well, not a circle, but a polygon like that. So basically, around here 3 times to lay down my lines. That is the most important path that everything's attaching to. And I believe some of these elements you'd have to do after it's attached. Like when you're attaching it, you would have to do these, because some of it would attach to the cloth. So the elements that I would do ahead of time are these little loops, this foundation line, and all this interior stuff. And then when I attached it to the cloth, I would whip stitch it to the cloth, go to here, run some lines, and run my buttonhole stitch down to here, do this, and then do this. Additionally, what that allows you to do is if this doesn't exactly fit on your cloth, like say you have an 18-inch long piece of cloth, edge of a cloth that you want to fill, you could space these out a little bit longer or a little bit shorter and resize these elements to make it work so that it all looks like it should be contiguous. The main line is this. Once you have a path of 3 lines around, I'm going to use the blue to indicate a buttonhole stitch or wrap stitch or whatever, basically a covering stitch, the final stitch on any line. So once you have 3 run, I would go and basically cover my foundation line up to the first intersection. Now remember, we're skipping this one because we're going to do that later once we attach to the cloth. So I would run it up to the first intersection. Now this technically is the first intersection, but you have to go past that because you have to have something to attach to, right, with your next foundation lines. So you would go past it to that intersection, run your foundation lines 1, 2, 3 to that, back to that intersection, and then do your buttonhole stitch, do your picot as you go, back to where you were. Then you would run your buttonhole stitch up to here and do the exact same thing. You run 3 lines, 2, 3, and then buttonhole stitch to the picot, and then buttonhole stitch back. you would go around it that way until you got to the center. Picot back. So you've buttonhole stitched all the way here. Do your foundation lines here. So you have the buttonhole loops done to here, and you're at the center. Now I'm going to use this path as the path to get in here, because this is another line that's pretty central to the whole thing. This is a foundation line for the outside. This is kind of a foundation line for the inside. So I'm going to run 3 lines to here, and then work my way back up through here to back up to this point. So I'm down here. I've done 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do my wrap stitch, because I think that looks like a wrap stitch type scenario. Up to here. I would cast my lines to there, and then buttonhole back. Cast my foundation lines to there, buttonhole back. I'd probably do that there. This would cast out to there, and I would probably do this at the same time. So you went 1, 2, 3, buttonhole to here, cast out to here, and then also cast out to here, because you're not going to be able to get back to that. So go ahead and cast out to here. Then buttonhole stitch back, doing the picot as you go, and then wrap back, because that looks like a wrap to me. Then buttonhole stitch up to there, cast your lines for your first buttonhole stitch over to there, buttonhole stitch back, and see how that's a double line? So then I would cast another line over to here, and then going through the fin of the first buttonhole stitch, I would buttonhole to here, cast to here, buttonhole to here, cast to there, buttonhole to here, doing the picot as you go, buttonhole back to here, and then keep going doing these picots as you go to here. Then you buttonhole stitch up to here and do the same thing, but kind of on the other side. So you would cast over to this intersection, buttonhole back, cast over top of it over there, buttonhole back, doing these picots as you go, cast up to here, buttonhole back, and each time I'm casting, I'm laying down 2 to 4 threads depending on what I'm doing. Most of the time it's 3. 3 is the perfect number. Once I get to there, I would cast to here. It looks like a wrap to me, so wrap stitch back, wrap to here, cast, 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 wrap back, cast out to here, wrap back, and then wrap all the way to the top. Then at that point, I would go ahead and buttonhole over to this intersection, cast to there, buttonhole up to here, cast to there, buttonhole back, doing these picos as you go, buttonhole back, doing this picot as you go, and then basically you work your you continue working your way around. Buttonhole to there, cast to here, buttonhole doing the picot as you go, buttonhole to here, cast to there, buttonhole back, doing this picot as you go. Now technically you could do these right now if you want to. I didn't on this side, but I could have. I could have done these. Or you can do these once you put it on the fabric. So if you don't want to, if you want to do these later after you put it on the fabric, then you would just buttonhole to there and you'd be done. If you wanted to do that, basically you would do, but you know, cast to here, buttonhole to there, and then buttonhole down. Either way, you can either do these while you have it in this condition or once you're attaching to the fabric. This one would also be done similarly. So I hope this has been helpful. Let me know if this method of showing the sequencing works for you, because I can do more if it's helpful, if people find it helpful. Thank you very much. Goodbye.